Hello, and thanks for joining me. We are in the very lovely French seaside town of Antibes. A lot of expensive boats over there, so it's a fitting venue to showcase this. This is the all-new second-generation Porsche Macan, and in a very bold strategic move, Porsche has opted to make the new range electric only. So if you want the new generation Macan, it's EV or nothing. But for some markets, obviously, that's not the way forward. So the existing combustion models will continue to sell alongside this for the time being, for the foreseeable future. The new car, though, makes some very key steps forward. It's a much faster and much more polished car. So there are two models on offer initially. There's the Macan 4 and the Macan Turbo, which is this car. The base model puts out 408 horsepower. This puts out 639 horsepower, 1130 Newton meters of torque. So it's an absolute powerhouse of a car. It does 0 to 100 in 3.3 seconds, top speed of 260 kilometers an hour. So it is absolutely rocket ship fast. And as you can see, styling wise, it is quite evolutionary. But there are some steps forward. As you can see, it's a more streamlined design, more sharper edges. The headlights have been squared off. And as you can probably perceive, it's a longer car than the previous generation. It's about 60 millimeters longer, but the big stretch is in the wheelbase, which is 86 millimeters longer. So that's because there's no engine up front. There's an electric motor there, another one there. So obviously you don't need a very long bonnet. The 95 kilowatt hour battery pack sits under there. So there's some real packaging benefits. So there's more space front and rear. So there's, I think in the back, anyone up to about 1.85 m, no problems at all. And then also as a stylistic element, Porsche has added this side blade, which gives the side profile a bit more character. And also a first for the Macan, frameless doors front and rear, which is a nice design element. And this car is also slipperier through the air. It has a drag coefficient of 0.25 compared with 0.35 for the previous generation. So that in itself adds about, I think, what was the figure? 60 or 80 kilometers of range, just the improvement in drag coefficient. So it's a heavy car. It's 2.4 tons, the turbo, but air suspension all around. Four-wheel steering is offered as an option, so that makes the car feel very nimble and agile. And in the case of the Turbo, Porsche torque vectoring, which is an electronic e-diff at the rear, is offered as an option, so that makes it feel even more agile. We've been out on the road, we've carved up some really twisty mountain roads, and the car is incredibly agile. It's also very quiet. It rides very nicely. So it's really a nice sort of a grand tourer. It's an all-weather, all-season car. In fact, it handles more like a very nice grand touring coupe, not an SUV. So Porsche has done an incredible job with the chassis of this car. And as you can see, the rear end is a very clean design, sort of not too many elements, very clean, light design, the full-length light bar with the Porsche logo now sort of placed in the middle, which works quite well. The Turbo is differentiated from the Macan 4 and other models with these little sort of grille elements there, which the base models don't have. So it's subtle. What I like about this car is that it doesn't have anything that sort of punches you in the face. It's just nice, clean design. And overall, that sort of translates through to the rest of the car. It feels very cohesive and very together when you're driving it. Beautiful steering, very sort of direct, very tactile. And even the brake pedal, you cannot perceive the sort of, because some of the braking energy goes towards recuperation and some obviously to the brake disc, but that's not perceptible. Everything feels very analog about this car. So, with that said, perhaps we can move to the interior of the car. Let's have a look in here. So, a good spacious boot. It's 540 liters, but if you fold down the rear seats, that extends to over 1,300 liters. And that's not all, because there's also an 84-liter frunk in the front, which we'll take a look at next. Now let's take a look at the front of the car. And by the way, earlier on I forgot to mention that the headlight cluster has been split into two elements. So you have the 4-point DRL at the top, and the LED headlights have now been housed in that separate cluster underneath there. So that's a nice piece of design. And yeah, so with the front bonnet, there's a rather interesting gesture control. So you just do that and it opens, and you have an 84-liter frunk. So it's good for a gym bag or something of that nature, or maybe some groceries, etc. So that is also a handy little design feature. Right, so in trademark Porsche fashion, everything falls very nicely to hand. So for starters, you have this lovely 3-spoke wheel. For me, this is what a steering wheel should be. It's just the perfect size, perfect thickness. It's spot on. And it's a nice contrast from some brands, which I won't mention, which give you these ultra thick steering wheels. You have a 12.6-inch digitized instrument cluster, so that can be configured in various ways. There's also a head-up display. You have the trademark Porsche chronograph there, and then a 10.9-inch infotainment screen. And then the passenger also gets a 10.9-inch screen, which I can't see when I'm driving the car. So as a safety feature, the passenger can be watching movies or playing games, etc. But I can't see that, so as a safety element. I like the fact that Porsche has retained some buttons for various functions. So in this case, the HVAC functions are here, so you don't have to scroll through various menus to change the vent settings or temperature settings. So that's good. Big thumbs up there. And then new for this generation of Macan is this sort of floating center console. So you have some, of course, your phone storage there. And then, of course, you can keep water bottles, your wallet, keys, various bits and bobs in there. And then you have these very beautifully sculpted seats. Black interior, a bit dark for me. I prefer tan or perhaps something a bit brighter, but very nice quality feel. You have a Alcantara roof lining. This car has the panoramic sunroof. And a Bose stereo system is standard. But this one has the Burmester system, as you can see from those speakers there. So overall, the cabin is a very nice place to be. Even the back seats have enough room, as I'd alluded to earlier. So Porsche has nailed the interior of this car. There's really not too much to fault in it. Perfect driving position, very quiet, very refined inside. So well done, Porsche. So there you have it, the second generation Porsche Macan. A very impressive piece of engineering. I think Porsche has nailed all the key metrics for this car. It's rocket ship fast, very quiet, very refined, and also very practical. You know, plenty of storage space, and you can accommodate 4 occupants very comfortably. And I also like the evolved styling. I think it's cleaner, more streamlined, more dynamic. So I think Porsche has ticked all the boxes with this one. The only question I'm left asking, has Porsche shot itself in the foot by making this car electric only? In doing so, they've potentially limited the audience for this car. So time will tell whether that proves to be a short-sighted decision, and only time can provide an answer for that. So we wait and see, but for the time being, I can say this is a very impressive car, so well done, Porsche.